Hello, you are welcome to the atmosphere of simple gospel truth. Today, I want to speak on the hope for those who fail. Hope for those who fail. In case you look at this year we're about to finish now and we're about to enter another year, and you look at your life as if you have failed throughout the whole year, or you look at your life sometime and it seems as if you have fallen and have disappointed God. And the devil keeps telling you that there is no hope for you. I have a good news for you. That there is hope for those who fail. Let me begin with the book of Genesis, chapter 1. And there we read about when God created the whole world, and there was a chaos. And the world found itself in a form of emptiness, and the darkness overshadowed the whole world. But God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And the earth was restored back to the extent that at the end God looked and God said, "This is good." I have a good news for you that God is still in the business of remaking and recreating ruins life. This is the essence of this message. And I have a text to read in the book of Mark, chapter 7, verse 8. Micah 7:8. "Do not gloat over me, my enemy. Even though I fall, I will rise." I want you to know that there's no problem with falling. What is important is rising after you have fell. After you have fallen, there is a hope for you to rise. And again, you want to look into the book of Genesis at the same time. Because of that time, I may not be able to read all the scriptures, but I will try to point your attention to these scriptures. The first man in the Garden of Eden, Adam, and Eve as well, they fell in the book of Genesis chapter 3. But right there in Genesis chapter 3, God provides a solution for their falling. That a seed from the woman will be coming to set the whole human race free from the hands of the enemy. So there is a good news for you. If you thought you have fallen, you can rise. There is still hope. Let me go ahead to make mention of the young man called David. You remember King David in the Bible? King David fell several times. And there was a time he committed adultery with the wife of Uriah. But in spite of this all, David was still being called a man after God's heart. And do you know that God never established his covenant with Solomon, who built the temple? It was with David, the same guy that fell, that God established his covenant with. And still called him a man after his own heart. So much so that in the book of Acts chapter 13 verse 36, the Bible says, David fulfilled God's purpose in his generation. Even if you have fallen, you can still rise and fulfill God's perfect plan for your life. Not just second best of God, you can still rise to fulfill the perfect plans of God for your life. But I remember in the life of David, David has a unique character. When he fell, he never attributed his falling to anyone. He admitted his sin and repented from that sin, and God restored him back, even though God punished him. Again, we read in the New Testament about Peter. Peter was a man who worked with Jesus Christ for 3.5 years, but yet the same Peter denied Jesus Christ 3 times. And you remember what happened? After the 3rd time, he cried. But the same Peter abandoned his calling and went back to fishing where he started from. But yet, Jesus loved him so much and went after him. In the book of John chapter 21, Jesus got to where Peter was and asked him, "Peter, do you love me?" For the first time, Jesus asked the question. The second time, Jesus asked the question. Peter kept saying, yes, Lord, I love you. The third time, he answered, Lord, you know I love you. And then he cried. And this is not for today, but for another time or for your research. 3 times he denied knew Jesus Christ, and 3 times he reaffirmed his love for Jesus with his tongue. Even if you have denied Jesus with your mouth, you can still reaffirm your love for him and come back to faith. And you will remember that the same Peter was used by God tremendously as one of the apostles. God has not given up on you. You remember the story of the prodigal son as well, who went away squandering his father's money and wasted his time as well. But yet, when he came back to his senses and returned home, the father opened his arm wide for this young man, so much so that he was given the best seat and the best robe in the house. What is the lesson that God wants to pass across to us? The lesson from this is God can pick up a person who has made a mess of his life and make something glorious out of him. No matter how mess you have made in your life, God can turn your mess into a message for this generation. Please don't sit down there in the pit. You can still rise. Again, we have a parable in the book of Matthew chapter 20 about a man who went around hiring men into his farm. He went 6 a.m. Later he went again by 5 p.m. And yet when these workers finished their job, he gave them the same amount. It's like some people have wasted 90% of their life and have 10% left, and yet after working for just this 10% time, yet they get the full wages. God has a message to pass across concerning this, that God can do something even with those who have ruined 90% of their lives and time. God mathematics is different from human logic. So you have not gone too far beyond coming back to Jesus. And again, I have discovered that when you fall, or in falling, there are 2 beautiful points I want you to take note. Number 1 is, when you fall and you are able to come back, falling helps to break us. When Peter returned back to Jesus after accepting the love of Jesus, he was broken by the love of Christ. That even though I thought I have gone far, yet God still loved me. And the second lesson, the second beauty is, if you have fallen and God restore you back, if you are like me, you will not be able to condemn others who have fallen, because you know there is hope for them to rise. So you're falling. God has made provision for you to rise, and as well as tools for your brokenness, so that you can treat others who has fallen with sympathy, and at the same time you can be broken and know that you are standing only by the grace of God. God never calls us or use people who never fail or make mistakes. I have read through the Bibles. No one God used is a perfect person. Moses failed. David failed. We read about Peter, Paul, before he became Paul. A lot of people God used in the Bible, none of them was serious. They are weak men like us who have their own lapses and weaknesses, but yet God make use of them. With all their mistakes, God restore them back. I heard a story recently about a young man in particular denomination that believed in sinless perfection. He has been living, following God after he gave his life to Jesus Christ, but at a point in time in his life, he committed the sin of fornication. And knew the integrity and the heavy weight concerning this in his own denomination, he went and hung himself. He committed suicide. To sin, to commit fornication, we know is sin, but you don't need to judge and condemn yourself. Run to the place of grace, where you can receive mercy and pardon. Even though man may not forgive you, God has opened his arm wide to forgive you. I want you to know that nobody is hopeless, that God cannot do something with him. Or Jesus come to destroy, I want you to know, the works of the devil according to 1 John chapter 3 verse 8. Jesus has come to destroy the works of the devil. He can untie all the knots the devil has tied in your life. And I don't want you to listen to the lies of the devil. Let me summarize or finish this message like this. If you have fallen and the devil keeps telling you this is your end. One time I remember, the devil shows me this. Yes, you have fallen and this is your end. And I was condemning myself, joining my voice with the devil. But one time the Holy Spirit reminded me that there is therefore no condemnation for them in Christ Jesus. And that night about 3 a.m., the Spirit of the Lord convinced me that every end the devil tells you or shows you, remember to put B before it. When the devil shows you an end, all you need to do is to put B before the end, and that turns it to bend. And that means that is not your end, because after the bend, your journeys continue. I wouldn't know the number of times the devil has been condemning you, but you have a hope to return back to Jesus Christ. The book of Hebrews, chapter 4, verse 16 told us that let's come to the place of grace to receive mercy in time of need. When we have fallen, you can receive mercy. And Job chapter 14, verse 7 tells us that there is therefore hope for a tree, even if it is being cut down. It can still sprout up again and bring forth branches. As long as your root is connected to the root, the main root of the tribe of Jesus Christ, you can still flourish. Please rise. This new year, rise. Come back to the plans and purpose of God for your life. God can use you. God bless you. Till we meet again in the next teaching. Bye.